y'all go to the bathroom together? All right. If you can go ahead and find your seats. We're going to go ahead and get this show on the road. If we can get those doors closed back there in the back too, that'd be great. All right. It is great to have everybody here. You get for those of us who play football, know what a helmet sticker is. You guys get helmet stickers for being here on a day like today. I was hoping that the rain would hold off, and it has not. So really appreciate you being here. This is going to be a great, fun meeting. It always is. This is the 5th year that we have done the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame induction, and our friends from Texas, we're so excited about having them back, and we'll introduce them in just a minute. But listen, we're all family. This is all about Razorbacks. Now, some of you know the Little Rock Touchdown Club is not just a Razorback club. We support all college football, all high school football. We support football in general. But today it is about the Razorbacks, the bottom line. We've got legendary, this is what I say, Razorback royalty on this stage, and we've done it every year. And so I know that some of you will want to get autographs and get pictures. We'll do that afterwards. I know Dwayne will be around to do some pictures. And honorees, we're glad to have you here. You're very worthy to be here. Got a chance to visit with them last night. I know there's family members and friends. And here's the great thing. When you get older like we are, it's great that your kids and your grandkids can say, oh, yeah, Dad and Mom, but they were pretty good. They're up there on stage and hearing about all their accolades. So it's really going to be a fun meeting. I'm going to try to keep it moving. I know we've got a lot of dignitaries here. I'm going to try to mention as many as we can before we get started. We'll probably leave the lights up at first, and then when it's time to introduce our honorees, we'll probably bring the lights down low. As always, when we start out our Touchdown Club meetings, we start out with a prayer. Sir Gary Underwood, would you come up and lead us in that prayer?
Thank you, David. Great to see all of you. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the day you've given us today. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to gather together and honor some very worthy individuals. Lord, we ask you to give us strength from the food we've had today to serve you and others the rest of this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. I would encourage you to mute your phone now. Now, if you want to text somebody and say, because we live stream this. We live stream this on Facebook, Touchdown Club Facebook page. We live stream it on lrtouchdown.com. And it's also going to be played live on 103.7 The Buzz. So if you have a friend in another country, another state, you can send them that and they can log on right now and see every speech here today. So just want to remind you to maybe also you mute your phone after you do that. I want to remind everybody we've had an unbelievable year this year. We've had, just to give you a flavor, Coach Morris, start off with. We had Raleigh Williams, Hunter Yurachek, and then we had a lineup. We went from there, which were all A-leaguers. Then we went A-plus leaguers. We went Mean Joe Green, Too Tall Jones, Larry Zonka, and last week, Earl Campbell, and then Steve Atwater. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, it's been an unbelievable year, and I probably left out a few. Next week, we have the James Street Award, and if you look up there, it's sort of odd. You see James Street. I mentioned our friends from Texas. We actually have a really unique banquet where there's a story behind the James Street Award we'll share next week, but we honor kids that play on football teams or involved with football programs that aren't the stars, but they are the best sportsmen on their team, and it's a really neat deal. That's next week. We're excited to have that. I do want to thank our sponsors real quick. If you allow me, I'll be real quick. We couldn't do it without these sponsors each week. Twin City Limousine. Popeye picked up everybody today. Thank you, Popeye and Twin City Limousine. CJRW, Mark Raines, Dan Sawyer, Darren Gray. Thank you. They're an amazing agency, PR agency, marketing agency, the best in the South. 103.7 The Buzz. We had, I think, Gary and Bobby Crockett did The Buzz today. And I do want to thank Justin Akery, Westmore, my buddy Tommy Smith, Roger, RJ, and all the gang at The Buzz. Arkansas Urology, Epic Health, 9 locations statewide. Please get checked up every year, especially guys. Please do it. The Great War Memorial Stadium. Thank you to Kane Webb, Kevin Krass, all the leadership at War Memorial. We're proud to have the Grand Old Lady as one of our sponsors. Farm Bureau, Pulaski County, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichert, Real Service, Rural People. Give Todd and Stephen a chance for your business. They'll take great care of you. I know that for a fact. Dairy Queen, Blake and Nelson Lively, Todd Denton, one of the fastest growing Dairy Queen operations in the country right here in Arkansas. We're proud to have them as a sponsor. Verizon Arena, November 9th, Frankie Valley and the Four Seasons. November 30th, Steve Martin and Martin Short. And don't forget Razorback basketball, December 15th against Texas San Antonio. Thank you to Verizon Arena for their sponsorship. Big Red Stores, great to see David Hendricks back. It's not normal not seeing David and Doug together. the Hendricks brothers at the Big Red Table. We appreciate y'all's support and the exciting things happening. Their newest store will be up in Lake Hamilton in no time. Judy Henry, Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. I see you and Charlie Coleman over there. Thank you for your support. One of the greatest law firms in the South that's been around for 120 years. Thank you for their support and of the Cliff Harris Award. They sponsor that every year. Crane Automotive, Larry Crane, the largest dealer group in Arkansas, 19 dealerships, 900 employees. The Crane team's got them. Thank you, Larry Crane. The Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley. Wally continues with his perfect attendance every year. Very nice. And Wally, I'm going to go ahead and mention, Wally, can I share where you're going this Saturday? Yeah, Wally is actually going to see his first Battle of the Ravine between OBU and Henderson State. He's going to catch the LSU. Yeah, I think that's great. He'll catch the LSU game later that night. Amanda Copley, we're not going to have an honoree today. Our Player of the Week, we'll have that next week, and the last two at our last meeting. But we thank the Democrat Gazette. We couldn't do this without Simmons Bank, our presenting sponsor, Chris White and Richard Johnson at the head table today. 7 states. Are you up to $16 billion now? You went 15 to 16. That is amazing. That's a locally owned bank that started out of Pine Bluff. So we couldn't do it without their amazing sponsorship. And thank you, Chris. Thank you, Richard. Tell George we miss him. But couldn't do it without you. We have a special sponsor we want to thank today as well. Stevens Inc., Warren Stevens. He has been a sponsor of this particular event for 5 years now. And so that was sort of happened through Bill Montgomery, who Bill is a major player in this, as I'll mention shortly. But do want to thank Warren and Stevens Inc. for their involvement in this particular event. Let's give a round of applause to all our amazing sponsors. How am I doing, Hunter? Hunter said he's going to come up and wipe the sweat off of me if I need it. Because, listen, I'm a sweater. I'm just going to tell you. Plus, I'm overweight. That doesn't help things. Also want to thank, I was telling our honorees that we're a volunteer organization. So I said we get things wrong every once in a while. We're going to fumble some, but we're all volunteers. We do this because we love football, we love sports, and we love propping up and supporting others when they deserve it, especially our honorees today. So let me just introduce you to our team real quick. We'll start with Brent Bailey and Ryan Terry. These guys set up this room every Monday. They're the dynamic duo. We appreciate them. Matt Johnson, Fidelity Local 6. He's the one handling all our live streams in the back that's going out all over the world today. He does a great job. Thank you, Matt. Dwayne Duncan, who has done our photography for years. All the pictures that he takes today, which will probably be over 1,000, will be posted on our Facebook page. Or any picture you get with Dwayne, where's Dwayne at, by the way? There he is right here. You know that it will be on a website somewhere you can find. Thank you, Dwayne. Also, social media. We do Twitter, Instagram, all that. I want to thank R.J. Hawk Media Solutions, and Meredith Scott Hell from CareLink. Both those are doing stuff all during the meeting. At LR Touchdown Club is the Twitter account. We have a Facebook page as well. Thank you to those two. And then we have a volunteer group. They have about 15 to 20 volunteers that show up every week. There's a picture of some of them right there. We couldn't do it without them. And Debbie Wyman, our executive director. Debbie does an absolutely fantastic job. Some of you have gotten to know Debbie through ordering tickets for this event. Let's give it a round of applause to Debbie, our volunteers, and our whole staff. Oh, that's right, too. We want to mention we're doing it's on my list. I hadn't gotten to it yet. You didn't trust me, did you? Yeah, exactly. That's next on my list. I was going to mention, too, Grant Garrett. Grant has had perfect attendance. He's learning about the Touchdown Club. Great to have you. And she was holding up T-shirts. We do have some T-shirts still available. They're not T-shirts. They're pullovers. We've done 80. We have done 80 Touchdown Club shirts, and they can be in white, red, or black. And I want to thank R.J. and Cassie over at Hogman's Game Day Superstore. If you want to order one, make sure and let Debbie know. We'll take good care of you. Now, no weekend football recap. Rex, you get the weekend off because this is all about the Razorbacks here today. But we do need to mention that Rex's OBU Tigers are the Division II champions for the Great American Conference. Give it up for them. What a year. Undefeated, top four. Top four. We also know that Arkansas will be playing LSU at 6:30. Hunter, is that not great? Finally, a night game in Fayetteville. How about that? Finally, love that. The Battle of the Ravine, as I mentioned, starts at 1 o'clock. If you haven't had a chance to go down and see that, it's worth the trip. No Jim Rasco today. Where's Jim? Jim, you get the day off today, too. They've worked very hard in all our introductions. He does an amazing job. But we couldn't do it without those two because they add to the meeting every week. So let me introduce a couple special guests, and then we'll get started with our honorees. It's funny, I got all of it. I've been told these are my kids, these trophies. And we've got all of them. And also today we decided to include the Broyles Award. Because, as you know, many of you that are here on this table, this gentleman had a big part to do with it. The fact that the funds he raised, the buildings he built, the direction of the program. Frank Broyles, and we're glad to have his daughter, Betsy Broyles Arnold, and his grandson, Jacob Arnold, here today. Please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. Jacob is the new addition to the Broyles Award team, and he's going to raise the bar. I told him it reminds me of me when I was this age at 32. That's when I started the Broyles Award, when I was 32. And he's doing amazing things, and he's going to make this award even bigger than it is right now. So great to have those two. Terry Connor Johnson and Tom Mitchell with the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. Let's please welcome Terry. Terry, please stand. One of the Hall of Famers. She directs the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. This is the second event that I've had to introduce, not had to, but will introduce. The Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge, who is a regular here at the Touchdown Club. Leslie, great to have you. Leslie was at a very successful cystic fibrosis event Saturday night, too. Great to always have you here. You're a great sports fan, Leslie, I know that. And this is the first time, now I want to introduce some of our U of A folks. This is the first time, I'm not throwing stones or anything, but this is the first time in 5 years that we've had the athletic director here for the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame. Just because, if you remember, the previous athletic director had the commitment in Dallas on the selection committee. So how cool is it to have a Hunter Yurachek back at the Touchdown Club here today? Let's give a round of applause to him. Hunter, great to have you. And then the rest of this crew, Kevin Trainer, who you guys know I mention him about every other week. 23 years with the university. He is a part of the glue that holds that university, the athletic department together. He does so much behind the scenes. I know Hunter is really glad to have him on board. Please welcome Kevin Trainer. Great to have Clayton Hamilton, the CFO, Scott Verity, head of the Razorback Foundation, Micah Strother and Susie Shin, also with the Razorback Foundation. Please stand and let's welcome them. And two of the old school guys that I was around a lot, one of them taped my ankles on a regular basis, and I think was in the training business for, 45 years, Dean? And one of the great baseball coaches of all time. They're both with the foundation now. Please welcome Dean Weber and Norm DeBryan. I will say, too, Dean does a great job of keeping the lettermen together in all sports. Dean, couldn't do it without you. I'm so glad they've given you that role to do, because nobody will do it better. I did want to mention Bill Montgomery. Bill Montgomery, guys, is one of the reasons behind this. He's on the board of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and with the cooperation from all of you. And Bill wants no attention. He's not here today, but if it hadn't been for Bill, we would not have this event. So I want to thank him and Harry King, who's worked hard on this. I know there's a few coaches. And I'm not going to be able to introduce everybody, but because I'm a no football player, I did see Harold Horton, Jesse Branch, and Ken Turner, three of the great football coaches of all time. Let's give a round of applause to them, wherever they're at. Where are you at? Stand up, yeah. Stand up. There's Harold Horton. There's Jesse. Where's Coach Turner? There's Coach Turner over there. Now, I do want to do this. There's so many former players here. Some of mine. I know there's former tennis players, former football players, former baseball players. There's so many. So let's just do this. This is one reason I want to keep the lights up. If you're a former player or a former coach or a former U of A administrator in any capacity, stand up and let's honor you at this time with a round of applause. Listen. So now all of you who have pens and pennants to sign, now you know where to go, too. That'll help you there. I mentioned the Texas Sports Hall of Fame board members that are here, Lee Fisher and Tom Hill. Great to have you. Please stand. Lee Fisher and Tom Hill, great to have you guys here. Thank you very much. And I want to bring up at this time the head man of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. He's a great guy. He's the president and CEO. Just to say a few words, please welcome Cooper Jones.
Thanks, David. You will not be the only one sweating at the microphone today. Welcome on behalf of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, our staff, our board of trustees, and our fellow inductees. I want to recognize the group that's here on the dais with me, but I want to make a special announcement for each of you that love the Razorbacks so much. Next spring, we have a very, very exciting honoree into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, a first time ever for an on-field Razorback to be inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Lloyd Phillips will be going in as part of the 2019 class. Absolutely. We're very excited about that. It's certainly a well-deserved and probably long overdue award. We expect to see many of your faces down in Waco next spring. So let us know if you'd like to come down. We have great Texas hospitality for each of you. So we're looking forward to inducting Lloyd in the 2019 Texas Sports Hall of Fame class. Special thank you to David, to Wes, to Debbie, and the good folks here at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. I'll only do this because I know he won't want me to, but I hope each of you appreciate David's passion for the Little Rock Touchdown Club, University of Arkansas, and Razorback athletics. I spent 20 years in college athletics across the country, and I've yet to see someone with the passion that you have for the Razorbacks. Thank you for all that you do. I'm also hoping to get asked back next year, so that's part of that. Today's event truly would not be possible without one of our presenting sponsors, and that's the folks at Stevens Inc., the Stevens family. They have been so good to us for 5 years, continue to support the Little Rock Touchdown Club and the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and all of the things that happen at the University of Arkansas. We're so appreciative for them. Continue the support. As David mentioned a little earlier, the folks at the University of Arkansas and Razorback Athletics, we appreciate everything that you do to continue to have a strong partnership with us. Hunter, Kevin specifically, your role as Southwest Conference Chair there makes this event so possible each and every year. Thanks to both of you and your staffs for all you do to keep this event going. For over 65 years, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame has been charged with promoting, preserving, and protecting the legacy of sports in the Southwest Conference. We take that very seriously. As you notice, even though I live in Texas, I have a lapel pin that certainly puts me in the middle of Razorback country today. This 2018 Southwest Conference Hall of Fame class is a shining example of everything we look for in a Hall of Fame class: drive, determination, and passion. However, we're even more impressed with the quality and character of the people that are on this stage and the families that are representing them. That's part of what the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame is. Thanks to each of you for your support of not only Little Rock Touchdown Club, but our Southwest Conference inductees and the Texas Sports Hall of Fame for this one day each year. We appreciate your support, and we're so excited to share with you these 9 Southwest Conference legends today. Thank you.
I do want to mention Emily McCash, too, who was the director of events, does a great job. She wasn't able to make it here, but could not do it without Emily as well. All right, it's time to honor our 9 inductees today. And so I told them, you can give a little bit more, Brent. A little bit more. Isn't there something? And a little bit, no, a little bit more. So long as we can have light on the podium. Amen. How are we doing over the back there? What do you think, Matt? Fluorescence down and others up, Brent. There we go. Boom. Look at you. Quick learner. So here's the deal. So what's going to happen is our guest MC is going to introduce all of our honorees. They're going to come up. They're going to get a medal from Tom Hall. And then they're going to share for a few minutes. Now, I will be honest with you. Each one of these honorees, I no joke, you really could have a banquet just on you. Just on you. And so I hate the fact that we have to limit the amount of time that you couldn't go 20 minutes. And so they're not going to have maybe 4 or 5 minutes to share. So the only thing I've encouraged them is share from the heart. These folks out here love to hear a story about great Razorback stories or anybody that's made a difference in your life. I just wish that we could give you more time because you're deserving of it. And so just exciting that now your family and friends can take part of what's going to happen today. Our MC is a guy who has been in broadcasting. He doesn't look it. I'm going to tell you, he's been in broadcasting for almost 50 years. Ray Tucker used to cover me when I played for the Razorbacks in the 80s. He started his broadcasting career down in Helena in radio in the early 70s. Worked for the CBS affiliate for many, many years. TV, radio, did it all. And now currently is on an 18-year streak of the play-by-play duties over for the Little Rock Trojan basketball team. So the guy's a dynamo, and he's a perfect fit to MC this event. We've had Steve Sullivan in the past, and Steve's in Boston. Once I found out that Steve wasn't going to be there, first person I called was Ray, because Ray's very familiar with the Southwest Conference, covered it for so many years, and we're honored that he's taken out of his schedule, taking some time out of his schedule to be here. So please welcome Ray Tucker.
David, if you're overweight, I'm going to start doing ads for Goodyear. And I may sweat before the day is over. It's nice to be before you this afternoon. Norm, Harold, all you guys that I've worked with, Dean, for many, many years, it's good to see you all. Our first inductee is Gary Anderson. He has the distinction, excuse me, of being one of the most talented, skilled players in Arkansas football history. He possessed blazing speed, great hands, and unbelievable acceleration. Lou Holtz lined him up at tailback as a wideout, and he was a feared kick returner. A native of Columbia, Missouri, he lettered from 79 to 82. That's 1979 to 82. His accomplishments are many. He was all Southwest Conference in 82. Led the Hogs in receiving 3 straight years. Plus, he led them in punt return yardage 4 consecutive seasons. Now, think about this. He still ranks in the U of A top 10 for career rushes, rushing yardage, and yards per carry. In 1979, he led the Hogs in kickoff returns. Plus, he was named most valuable player in 3 different bowl games. Gary Anderson won the Crip Hall Award as a senior. That's for the outstanding player in the homecoming game. He's a member of the U of A All-Decade team in the 1980s. Professionally, G.A. was a first-round draft pick of the Buffalo Bills, but chose the USFL, for those young people in here. That's the United States Football League, and he played for Steve Spurrier and the Tampa Bay Bandits. Oh, his NFL career, he later starred for the Chargers, Tampa Bay, and Detroit. And see if you remember this one. Gary played in the Canadian Football League for what team? The Memphis Mad Dogs. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most humble and nicest people you'll ever meet, Gary Anderson.
My wife told me to bring this in case I sweat or cry. So for either one, what's come first? Truly is an honor to be here today, and first I thank God who was ahead of my life, and without him, none of this would be possible. I thank you for allowing him to give me the time to do the things I do and to be where I am here today. True, I think the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame, it's been a long time coming. I would tell people, I'm going to go in anything, I want to walk in. Don't wait till I get 100 years old and I got to roll me in there. I want to be able to walk in and enjoy it with my family, and I thank him for it. So I know I got 5 minutes. Battle say we were starting 5 minutes later. I said, oh man, he finna cuss to 4 minutes. So I didn't know what was going on. But still, I got 5 minutes. I can thank some people. I like to thank Coach Branch, who here today. He didn't want to recruit me. We started out a little rough. I tell the story about Coach Branch. I was out. Matter of fact, I was out with Kelly Winslow that night. I was on a recruiting trip to Missouri. I got in about 2 o'clock in the morning. I walked in the house, and I would say it's a different type of neighborhood he was in this time when he came to visit me. Let's put it that way. When we walked in the house, and I opened the door, and I looked up, he was asleep on the couch. And this is the first time I seen that colored guy on the couch. So I reached behind the door to get my bat, and then he said, "Hey, I'm Coach Branch. I'm from Arkansas, recruiter." I said, "All right then." So we've been close ever since. So Coach Branch, thank you for sticking with me. Yeah. Sure, I'd like to thank all those that made this possible. Coach Holtz, when he came to my house to recruit me, of course they tell you what all you can do for them and how good you are and different things. And I told Coach Holtz, listen, you ain't got to convince me to come to Arkansas. All I want is the same opportunity as everybody else, behind the same lines as everybody else. If I can't do it for myself, it's on me. He said, well, I can do that. And he was a man of his word, and I always thank him for that, for giving me the opportunity. Because I first got there, that first week, he put me at the defensive back. I said, oh, man, he ain't the man of his word. Yeah. But as the week went on, he called me and said, I'm going to give you an opportunity. And he put me behind the same line with everybody else, and he said, well, you're still on this side of the ball. And that's what I want to be, on this side of the ball. So I thank him for that. Truly, I'd like to thank those offensive linemen that made the possible for me, those Alfred Muhammad's, the Steve Corks, the Jay Beckett's, the Jones brother, Rick and Charlie Jones, and all those guys, the Daryl Masons, and the blocking backs, and Jesse Clarks, and all the different guys that made it possible for me. I would tell them I had the easy job. All I had to do was run. They made the holes wide up. I just run through it and do what I do best when I get in the open field and try to make people miss. And they had the heart, but sure, I thank them for allowing me to do my job. Sure, I'd like to thank my mom. My mom, she never, a lot of times, never seen us go to school, but she made sure we went to school. So my mom, she, My mom worked a couple of jobs, cleaning hotels or whatever it took to put food on the table. And she got a job in Missouri. She had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and she never seen us go to school. But she always called back about 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure everybody up out of the house. She said, "Get up and get out of there. It's time to go to school." And she made sure we had a roof on our head and food to eat, and she made sure we went to school. Mom, thank you. I'd like to thank my wife. My wife, I met her January the 16th, 1980, at 7:30 in the old gym in Fayetteville. And we've been connected to hip ever since. My wife, she's everything. I mean, she do everything for me. When you're an athlete, you go through a lot of things. People think just because you play ball that you don't go through things, and she was always there for me. Even when I made it to the top level, and you had them bad games, you come home, you don't fumble one time, and the paper just kept talking all about you. And she there to comfort you, and she let you know the sun rise tomorrow. And then when you had them good games, you don't score 3 touchdowns, you come home, everybody praising you. And she still, well, the sun still rise tomorrow. Yeah. You know, she kept me level-headed, and she kept me grounded, and let me know that it could change any time, and I thank her for it. I thank her for raising our kids, Akia and Tisha, Amanda, who's gone home to glory, Adija and Asia, and my only son, Gary Jr. She made sure they got in and out of college. I always graduate from college. We got one left, and she's at a track scholarship at Pittsburgh, Kansas, and she's done a great job with our kids. I thank you. I thank you. Truly, I'd like to thank my mother and father-in-law. I don't know how people can say they never had a mad word, mother and father-in-law. We've been married, my wife, we've been married 35 years, 5 months and 19 days today. And so I never had any bad word, any cross word with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. My father-in-law, he always been a role model, but don't y'all tell him that. It's about the way he lived his life. People think role models throw people to be a role model, but my father-in-law, he's been my pastor and my superintendent for all these years, and he led by example. You watch him over the years and the things he do and the way he treats people, and no matter who you are, you're always a friend, and he always treat you that way. We never had one cross word. He's under the weather right now, but I thank you. I thank you. Thank you. But still, I thank y'all for choosing me. You know, it's one of them things that you go through life and you don't try to become play to go in the Hall of Fame. You just play the game, to play it the right way, and hope one day people identify what you've done. You know, I told my wife it's one more Hall of Fame I want to get into. I'm gonna wait for that one. When God come and call us home one day, I want to be in that one. But these are great down here. But one day when that time comes, that's the Hall of Fame I really want to be in. And I thank God for allowing me to be in this position and to be here today, to be I heard the Little Rock 9. I'm glad to be part of the Razorback 9 today, going in. And God bless you.
Gary, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I remember doing an Arkansas-Texas Tech game with Paul Eels in Lubbock, and I can close my eyes and see you screaming for that loose football on that punt return that went rolling across the field. And I remember the next evening on the taping of the Lou Holtz show, Lou Holtz made reference. He said, well, you have to understand this. He said the Texas Tech player was going for the ball. Gary Anderson was going for his scholarship. Our next inductee is the pride of Dermont, Arkansas. Bobby Crockett starred for Frank Broyles' Razorbacks in the early to mid-1960s. Coming off a national championship season in 1964, the Hogs again had a big showdown with arch-rival Texas, this time in the Ozarks. The legendary Dan Jenkins wrote in Sports Illustrated, signs were everywhere at food markets, real estate offices, bank buildings, service stations, and theater marquees. They said, go Hogs, go, beat Texas, Friars 29 cents a pound, and beat Texas, apples $1.99. One of them even owned a church, one was even on the church, the First Baptist Church of Fayetteville, and it said, football is only a game, eternal things are spiritual. Nevertheless, beat Texas. And the Hogs did, having blown a 20-0 lead. Dan Jenkins wrote that Frank Broyles was an emotional wreck on the sideline. That did not carry over to his star players, the quarterbacking man, John Britnum, number 15, and number 83, Bobby Crockett. On the winning drive, Britnum hit our man, Bobby Crockett, for 22 yards, 13 yards, 8 yards, 11 yards, and 13 yards. Arkansas won at 27-24. Crockett ended the day with 8 catches for 131 yards. That led to Bobby being named a first-team All-American by the Football Writers of America. Obviously, he was first-team All-Southwest Conference. To show you the difference in then and now, an All-American, Bobby caught 30 passes for 437 yards. A member of the U of A Hall of Honor and the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, please welcome Bobby Crockett.
Now, I've got some notes here. I don't have anything to wipe my brow with. I figure I can't remember what I was supposed to say. First, I want to introduce my immediate family that are here today. And y'all stand when I call your name. Bobby is my oldest boy, and his wife, Samantha, and Bobby's daughter, Sydney. And then Hayden and his wife, Paige, son, Spencer, and daughter, Taylor, and then Creed and Amanda. And I about forgot, my wife, Laurie. Now it's advertisement time. You know you can't watch TV without advertisements. Creed and Amanda own Crockett's Canoe Rental on the Buffalo River. So y'all give them a call for information or float trips. Stand up again, Sydney. Sydney plays basketball for Central Missouri and college, and she helped win the national championship for Division II in basketball last year. I could talk about the grand achievements of my children and grandchildren all day long, but time limits. So, now also I want to thank my friends who came here today, especially the Tarver family and the Gibson boys from Dermont. I only have good thoughts about the Southwest Conference, with the best fans anywhere, and in the best football league at that time. Example of fans. The town of Dermont, where I grew up, had a Bobby Crockett Day with just about the entire town showing up, along with Coach Matthews and Coach Broyles. Dermont even presented me with a brand new automobile that day. Yeah. I think about playing with people such as Jim Lindsay and Glenn Ray Hines, among others. Every once in a while, I had to come in and double-team block with Glenn Ray. And by the time I got to the block, Glenn Ray had already taken care of it. Never saw anyone close to equaling the speed of Glenn Ray off the line. I also think about playing against people such as Tommy Nobis of Texas, Donnie Anderson of Texas Tech, and then playing with them in postseason games. It reminds me of the Texas press naming Donnie the Golden Palomino of the West Texas Plains. It would be remiss of me not to mention my boy's mother, Missy, who raised 3 wonderful boys, but also about her working with Orville Henry, writing some great newspaper articles about our lives in the Southwest Conference and in Buffalo. In any event, I accept this honor with all humility, but with pride in our teams playing in the Southwest Conference. Thanks to Coach Broyles' insight into the future, we are now honored to play in the Southeast Conference. Not too good too good this year, but I believe a bright future with Coach Morris, Chad Morris as coach. Thanks for being here today and helping us all remember the Southwest Conference. And go Hogs, and go vote tomorrow.
Little footnote to that game you started in against Texas in '65, Bobby. I came to find out that Texas's quarterback, Marv Krisnick, wore contacts, and they spent the night before in Fort Smith at a motel, and he realized a couple hours before the game that he had left his contacts in Fort Smith. And so Darrell Royal had a friend by the name of Jack Perry who had, at the time, a $600,000 Learjet, and he flew somebody to Fort Smith and got the contacts and came back. And so he would have been the MVP if Texas had won. For those of you who have been around for a while, excuse me, got some sinus stuff going here. When I say the name Marvin Delph, you instantly think, if they had had the three-point rule when Marvin played, my gosh, how many points would he have scored? Marvin was one of the famed triplets, Moncrief, Delph, and Brewer. They became household names under the watch of legendary coach Eddie Sutton. In the late 1970s, as four of them put Razorback basketball on the map and made it the most feared program in the Southwest Conference. To hear Marvin tell it, things weren't easy growing up in his hometown of Conway. When he was in the 6th grade, a school official told his mom if he didn't change, he would end up in jail before he got out of high school. Well, along came a basketball coach by the name of C.D. Taylor. He took the young Delph under his wing, turned him into a two-time state champion in 1973 and 74, and that's when Eddie Sutton came into the picture. He sold Marvin on the Hogs' potential, and Marvin became a flourish as a Southwest Conference superstar. With a jumper as smooth as silk, he led the Hogs in scoring in 1976 and 77. He was all Southwest Conference in 77 and 78. Twice his Arkansas teams played in the NCAA tournament, including the Final Four in St. Louis. He, too, is an inductee of the U of A Sports Hall of Honor and the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. Let's hear it for Marvin Delph, number 44.
All right. All right, let me get my space. You heard that? All right. First of all, I want to give thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who 45 years ago gave me an invitation to join his Hall of Fame at a little camp in Estes Park, Colorado. You remember that, Chuck? I also want to thank the Southwest Conference Sports Hall of Fame and the Texas Sports Hall of Fame for giving me this distinguished honor. Also, I would also like to extend my congratulations to all of the honorees that are on this platform. 2 months ago, I received a phone call from a young lady in Texas. She identified herself as being with the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And she said, Marvin, I just want to let you know that you've been inducted, and they're going to have a luncheon for you on November the 5th. And I congratulated her. And then she asked me a question. She said, Marvin, do you believe in free speech? And I said, sure, I believe in free speech. She said, well, that's great, because on November the 5th, I want you to come and give one. So I'm here today to give you my free speech. You know, many years ago, I heard a statement that has impacted my life greatly. The statement goes like this: a God who cares cannot be represented by people who don't. Let me say that again. A God who cares cannot be represented by people who don't. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of people who embodied that truth by caring for me, and through their love and tutelage, they have played a pivotal role in the person that I have become today. First of all, I want to introduce you to my English teacher. She didn't know I was going to do this. And she's sitting right back there. So, Miss Simmons, would you stand just for a second? Now, Miss Simmons was the head of the English department at Conway High. She taught the hardest English class on campus. You know that kids take these AP classes today? Her class was AP. In her class, there were future Fortune 500 executives, doctors, lawyers, people that were going to graduate cum laude, magna cum laude, summa cum laude. And I mysteriously found myself in her class, and I was going to do good to graduate. Oh, Lord. As I looked around and saw all of these honor graduates, I knew that somebody had made a mistake. But unbeknownst to me, she and the principal had gone and put me in her class. And it was a hard class, real hard class. I had no business in there. But Miss Simmons had an impact on me by believing in me, that I could do the work if I applied myself. That meant a lot to me at that time. And with her encouragement, I accepted the challenge because she cared. She made a significant impact on a young man that lived on 1155 Clayton Street in Conway, Arkansas. In 1976, in November of 1976, that was a very dark time in my life. My younger brother had just passed away from an aneurysm. I was at basketball practice. At that time, we was practicing at Fayetteville High School because they were renovating Barnhill at the time. And I'll never forget, as we were in practice, Coach Sutton got an emergency phone call. And he went up and stayed away for about an hour and a half. And he had no idea. He had a very difficult time telling me that my brother had passed. But Don Tyson gave us his plane, and Coach Foster and I flew back to Conway. I'll never forget, it was the loneliest ride of my life. As we landed at the little small Conway airport, there were about 200 people there to greet me at about 11 p.m. that night. But the first person that I saw in that crowd that came up and gave me a big hug was Miss Simmons. She was there. And Miss Simmons, you'll never know what that meant to me to have you there. You played a very significant role in my life because of the fact that you cared. And today I wanted to publicly thank you for that. Now, the second person I want to introduce you to is my high school coach. He's right here, too. Stand up, Coach Taylor. Now, Coach Taylor and I didn't always see eye to eye, but we always saw heart to heart. The reason I say we didn't see eye to eye was because he was always trying to make me into a defensive player. And I had to remind him over and over again that defense wasn't in my DNA. You know, in practice, he would always make comments like, "Marvin, you couldn't cover my grandmother and she's dead." He did a whole lot to help my self-esteem. But I often reminded him that she couldn't cover me either. You know, I had I had to let him know that the only thing that mattered is that we had more buckets than they did at the end of the game. But Coach and I always saw heart to heart because he was a winner. And the one thing that I wanted to do in life was to win. You know, and when we did, as Ray mentioned earlier, we won back-to-back state championships. Conway High had never won a state championship in anything up until that point. But we won back-to-back state championships. But, Coach, what I want to thank you for today publicly is the fact that you gave me an opportunity. That's the word that comes to mind when I think about you, is that you gave me an opportunity when you knew that I had run out of opportunities. You see, most of you don't know that I never played junior high basketball. And there was a reason that I didn't play junior high basketball, because I got kicked off the team 3 years in a row. I got kicked off in the 7th grade. I got kicked off in the 8th grade. I got kicked off in the 9th grade. And the reason that I got kicked off was because I had a bad attitude. Now, I deserve to be kicked off. I don't deny that. But Coach Taylor, even with all my flaws and the baggage that I was bringing, he accepted me and gave me an opportunity. And so, Coach, I want to publicly again thank you for that. Because without that opportunity, Coach, I would have never had the opportunity to play for the University of Arkansas. And I would have never had the opportunity to be standing here before you today, being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And so again, I wanted to acknowledge a couple of people who have played a significant role in my life and development. And that's Miss Simmons and Coach Taylor. Now, in closing, I want to say this. I wish Coach Sutton could be here. I got a ton of stories I could tell on him. But if you're a praying person, I want you to remember Coach Sutton. He's not doing too well, and his health is failing. And so if you know how to get in contact with God, I want you to remember Coach Sutton. Okay? Again, I want to thank the Hall of Fame for giving me this distinguished honor. And again, I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you.
All these years, Marvin, I've been trying to figure out why they called you Mr. Consistency. You got kicked off 3 years in a row. My God. If any of you belong to a Rotary Club or Kiwanis Club and you need a 15-minute speaker, don't call Marvin. You went 5, 5, 5, 5. Arkansas Athletic Director Frank Broyles had a reputation for hiring great coaches, not just in major sports, football, basketball, and baseball, but in what were termed secondary sports like track and field, golf, and tennis. Well, back in the early 1980s, he reached out to a guy named Tom Pucci to resurrect the men's tennis program, and Pooch, as he was affectionately called, did just that, bringing great talent to Fayetteville. And this afternoon, we're here to recognize one of his former pupils, Peter Dewan. Peter was the first Razorback, first ever four-time All-American. In 1982, he teamed up with Pat Surratt and won the NCAA doubles championship. He also won the Southwest Conference championship. The duo remains as one of the only doubles team to hold the nation's top ranking. The year prior, they were national runner-ups at the NCAAs. Peter won the Southwest Conference titles in number 2 singles in 81 and number 3 singles in 82. He also had to his credit a pair of Southwest Conference doubles titles. Professionally, Peter drew worldwide attention. Reflect back, if you would, 1987 Center Court in Wimbledon. Former Razorback Peter Dewan ranked 70th in the world, taking on England's favorite, the redhead Boris Becker, Wimbledon's 2-time reigning champion. Peter Dewan pulled off the major upset. Twice Peter reached the semifinals at Wimbledon and was a finalist at the Australian Open in 1987. Peter Dewan is an honorary of the U of A Sports Hall of Honor, and today it is our pleasure to receive him into the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame. Accepting on Peter's behalf is his son, John.
All right, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Basil and the Little Rock Touchdown Club for hosting this event, and Mr. Trainer and the U of A, and to the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame for giving this honor to my dad. It's a big honor for me and my family, so thank you. I'm accepting this in honor of my dad. He passed away last year, but I just briefly wanted to say how important being a Razorback was to him. He grew up in Australia, but when he came to college here and for the rest of his life, he always referred to Arkansas as home. And he believed that being a Razorback really launched him into his success that he had on the professional circuit, which again was highlighted by beating Becker at Wimbledon. After he lost later in that tournament, when he returned home, he was greeted to a welcome back party from all the Razorback fans in Little Rock. He lived in Australia for the last 10 years of his life, but when we talked on the phone, his first question was always how the Hogs are doing, how the Razorbacks are doing, football, basketball, anything. I'll close by saying my dad wasn't one to talk about his career or keeping his memorabilia trophies or anything, but my brother and I got to spend 2 weeks with him a couple months before he passed away last year, and the things that he gave us when we left were his 2 Southwest Conference championship rings and his NCAA championship medallion that he won being a Razorback. Thank you.
A lot of Arkansas's football success in the 1960s was based on Frank Broyles' ability to recruit the state of Texas. And there were a number of guys from the Lone Star State on the Hogs' great teams of 64 and 65, like Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Lamb, Ronnie Cavanagh, Lloyd Phillips. There was also an abundance of talent in Frank's home state of Arkansas. One of those you can't let them go elsewhere guys was from the South Arkansas town of El Dorado. His name was Glenn Ray Hines. Frank knew a good one when he saw it. Glenn Ray became the first Razorback offensive tackle to ever be named All-American. He was a 3-year starter. The Hogs went 25-7 during his time in Fayetteville. He was part of the team's 22-game winning streak. The Houston Post named him the Southwest Conference's most valuable player for the 1985 season. Glenn Ray was named to the Coach's All-American game and also played in the College All-Star game and the Hula Bowl. In 1965, the football St. Louis Cardinals and the AFL Houston Oilers drafted him. Teams loved his durability. He ended up as a pro starting 115 consecutive games. He played for the Oilers, Saints, and Steelers. Accepting on Glenn Ray Hines' behalf, is his son, Wes Hines. Wes?
Got our speech prepared today. It's good to have a mom that was an English teacher. So my daddy couldn't be here today. He would want to pretty bad. He's got some health issues going on, and so it's an honor to be here for him today. And my sister Sheila's here in the front, and her daughter Shay. They came down from Springdale. I live outside of Houston, and I drove up yesterday. My brother, Glenn Hines Jr., he's on the East Coast, and he couldn't get over here. So, but I'm glad to be here today and to accept this for my dad. I'm just going to read from this note here. Let me take out my cheaters here. I know I look young, but still, it just happened all of a sudden, a couple of years ago. I was like, I can't see anymore. So, all right, it says, I'll just read. My name is Wes Hines. I'm the middle of my dad's 3 children. My sister Sheila is also here, and we're both honored to represent our father today. And Glenn, he couldn't be here. So, growing up in Houston, Texas, as the son of a former Arkansas Razorback football player, I was privileged to hear and know about the history of the Southwest Conference and many stories of great football games. I was taught at a very young age to call the Hogs. I was also taught to always root for other Southwest Conference teams, unless, of course, they were playing the Razorbacks. I was going to add in, I think we were, no offense to Texas, but I think we were taught that that was the enemy most times. So, my dad is very disappointed that due to some health issues, he is not able to travel anymore and could not be here to accept his honor himself. He would like to thank all of the people from the Texas Sports Hall of Fame and the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame Selection Committee for this honor. A special thank you to Emily McCanch and Director of Events David Basil and others like Cooper Jones and Kevin Trainer. We thank y'all in the Little Rock Touchdown Club. He would also like to thank all the Arkansas fans and friends in attendance today. My dad wanted me to convey his thoughts about the Southwest Conference for this occasion, and so I would like to read this little section here for you now. These are his words. It says, I never dreamed as a young boy raised in El Dorado, Arkansas, that I would be part of the sports history of Arkansas and Texas. My greatest memory of the Southwest Conference is winning the 1964 National Championship and going undefeated. Every single player was valuable to that team. My teammates were and have been the most loyal and caring bunch of guys over the years. Having Coach Broyles and his staff has made a difference in all of our lives. Playing in 2 Cotton Bowl games was exciting. I was fortunate to have played in a conference rich and tradition that produced so many great college and professional football players and memorable rivalry games. This experience enabled me to continue playing professionally for 8 years in the NFL, benefiting me and my family and richly blessing my life. I'm greatly thankful for all those who contributed to my success and good future. Thank you for this honor and good luck to our Razorbacks. Just as his son, I wanted to just take a few minutes to brag on him a little bit, and just as a dad. When he was through playing football, I was probably 3 or 4 years old, so there's sometimes we didn't know exactly what he did, but I remember when he changed teams, we would keep our home in Texas, in Houston, and we would go live in an apartment if it was in New Orleans or in Pittsburgh for the season. And my mom had to deal with us 3 little ones kind of going crazy and stuff. But anyway, after football, before he was doing other things, he was home at the house a lot. And so we kind of had, sometimes my sister and my brother and I, we kind of had an unusual growing up because our dad was there a lot. And so he spent countless hours working with us in sports, if it was football or baseball or softball with my sister or basketball. And it wasn't like, come on, you're going to do this. He didn't make us do it. If it was our choice, we would do it. But he was like the best coach that we had. And even if he wasn't good at that particular sport, he acted like he knew how to do it. So even if it was in track and practicing the high jump, he'd go up to the school. He'd say, hey, let's go up to the school and have you jump some. If it was my sister or my brother, I think all of us did that. There's countless numbers. I can't count all the hours of baseball pitches he threw us, batting practice, and even getting down, being the catcher, because my brother was a pitcher and I pitched some, and also my sister was a softball pitcher. He would always say, gosh, how many more times do I got to get up from this squatting position? But it's just hours and hours. And he was one of those that he had that early 1980s big camcorder with the pack on the side, the VHS. And he was, he would be at a lot of our games, and he would be lots of times with the video. And so you're like, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, when you got home. So I can't count how much time he spent with all three of us, helping us in sports and helping us in coaching some of our teams and going to our games. I remember one time we were all playing Little League baseball and softball at the same time, and our fields backed up together. And he was behind the fence, and he would go hang over the fence and watch my brother's game for a while. Then he'd turn and go watch my sister's game, hanging over the center field fence, just watching from there, or come over to my game. And he's always encouraging, even if you didn't do sports sometimes, whatever you were doing. He was saying, hey, I think that's great. I think you should do something with that. And so I just wanted to say that. He's just a great dad in the time, other than just a great football player, just spending time with us and making us do right in school and discipline as well. So he wouldn't let my brother and I get away with anything. And it's kind of like my mom would always say, I'm going to tell your dad when he gets home, if y'all don't straighten up. And my brother and I, we'd be like, yes, ma'am. Because he's a big guy. So my brother and I, we didn't mess with him a whole lot. He didn't have a whole lot of problem with my sister. But anyway, we're thankful for that. And again, he wished he could be here, but I'm proud of him, and thank you for the honor. And again, go Razorbacks. Thank you.
I'm just the perfect height here. Now, something's wrong with this picture. Here's David's print, what he's reading off of. He won't wear his glasses. He's too vain. And I'm reading off this print, and so when this microphone, I have to pull it down. It goes right across, and I'm wearing bifocals. And so I miss about half of it. Sorry about that. These days, when we talk about Razorback baseball, names such as Andrew Benintendi, Dallas Keuchel, Casey Martin, Heston Kjerstad dominate the conversation. But if it weren't for guys like our next inductee, Razorback baseball may have never gotten off the ground. Tim Lawler was the complete player. Playing for Norm DeBryan, he starred on the mound and at the plate. He was both first-team All-American, All-Southwest Conference in 1978. In 1977 and 78, the big left-hander combined for 13 victories. His career 2.17 ERA still ranks fifth best of all time. Lawler was also dominant as a hitter, posting a .356 batting average. The Indians drafted him after his junior year. He returned. Then the New York Yankees got his signature. He went in the fourth round. Tim was in the pros for 10 years. He had stops with New York, San Diego, Chicago, the White Sox, and the Red Sox. All total, he played in 199 games. He earned 47 victories, struck out 600, and belted 8 home runs. 82 was his best year. He went 16-9 with the San Diego Padres. In 1985, out of respect for head coach Norm DeBryan, Tim and 2 other former Razorback baseball players, Kevin McReynolds, Max right down here, made donations to the program. Johnny Ray along with them and their agent Tim Solokovic made a donation to the program in order to have lights at George Cole Field so there could be night games in Fayetteville. And this afternoon, Tim Lawler, the bright lights are shining on you.
You guys aren't the only ones with cheaters here. Well, thank you all. What an honor. First off, Bobby, I want to thank you for reminding me. My wife. I do mention her later, but I just want to make sure. I want to thank those that are responsible for considering me for this honor. It's truly overwhelming and humbling to have my accomplishments recognized by this induction. And, you know, I live in Colorado, and I'm noticing that my accent's getting a little bit farther south right now. But, you know, this class has incredible athletes, and, you know, I'd like to congratulate all my fellow inductees. So congratulations to all of you. You know, the University of Arkansas was and is such a great school. And when I first visited the campus and saw the incredible athletic facilities there, and I just knew this was the place for me. And the Southwest Conference, you know, was made up of schools that were rich in tradition. And for the majority of its history, all of the schools were in Texas except Arkansas. And you really don't realize how big the state of Texas is until, you know, you start out on a road trip from Fayetteville to Lubbock. And, you know, we weren't like the basketball team. We were in 3 vans. And, but at least, it wasn't stagecoaches. So, you know, one of my earliest memories of the Southwest Conference was the Arkansas-Texas football games. And watching the great players coached by Coach Broyles and by Darrell Royal. And, you know, during those national championships in the 60s, it was a lot of fun. And there's just been so many great athletes from this conference, and that's why it's such an incredible honor to be included, you know, in the history of this conference. So, awards like this are, you know, they honor individual performances, but as all team-oriented athletes recognize and realize that these awards would not be possible without great teammates and coaches. Got a couple of my former teammates right here, by the way, and my coach. But, you know, I was fortunate to have both, and that the players are too numerous to mention, but the man that I really owe the thanks to is also a previous Hall of Fame inductee, and he's Norm DeBryan. Coach. Norm took a chance and gave me such an incredible opportunity, and for that I will always be grateful. And, you know, also assistant coaches are big parts of this as well, and we had Doug Clark and Rick Russell they put in countless hours to help me improve. And, you know, there's so many funny stories, and most of them I can't mention in this mixed crowd. But, you know, for those of you that don't know Norm, he has this heavy northern Wisconsin accent. And one of his favorite sayings, you know, before he became a deacon was, shoot, you know. And, you know, Norm loved to throw batting practice. And you always made sure he wore a helmet when you got in the cage because he was one wild lefty. You know, the batter's box at George Cole Field, the former one with the AstroTurf field, was in really bad shape. So in the fall of my senior year, you know, I asked Norm if the budget would allow to get some clay. And I said I volunteered to pick up to improve the batter's box and to take care of it. And so Norm got some clay and had it delivered behind home plate. Well, one hot fall day, Rob Kaufman and I think it was Rob, and I decided that we got a pick and some shovels, and we started digging, dug up home plate. And, you know, the more we dug, the hotter it got. And I was 21, so I figured a cold beer or two would be really good. And it would help us get this job done. And the problem was that at that time, when you drink a couple beers, well, what do you do with the cans? So we couldn't put them in the trash or Norm would find them. So we buried them under home plate. And a few years later, I get this phone call from Norm. You son of a gun. He goes, I found your beer cans. So, we had a pretty good laugh about that one. And again, Arkansas, just a great place. After my senior year, I was drafted by the Yankees and pitcher first baseman, and I played, or actually before that, but I have to mention that one of Little Rock's own was Tom Selakovich, and he was my agent. And, he was really the best. The Southwest Conference was so competitive with the talent here that when I signed, I requested to bypass 2 of the lower minor league levels, and I went straight to Double-A. And, in the minor leagues, I pitched, I played first, I played the outfield, I DH'd, until finally all my performances sucked. And so I just made the decision at that time. I said, I just need to pitch. And I got called up to big leagues the next year. And so I spent that year with the Yankees. And then I got traded to San Diego, which was an awesome opportunity for me. Then I got traded to the Chicago White Sox. And I finished up my big league career with the Red Sox. And I was so incredibly blessed, to be on those teams. And again, teammates make it. And out of almost 7 years in the big leagues, our teams, we get to the playoffs in 1980, and 84, the World Series with San Diego, and 86, World Series with Boston. Unfortunately, we all lost. But as fortunate, again, as I have been in athletics, I'm even more fortunate to have the love and support of my wife, Vanessa, here. And thank you, honey. And again, thank you for coming today. It's an incredible honor, and again, go Hogs. So.
Tim, just so you won't feel bad, at the '79 World Series in Omaha, Norm and I left a few beer cans sitting in the hallway at the hotel. That's more than a few. In football, they talk about the X's and O's, which turn into Jimmys and Joes. Well, in track and field, they don't have X's and O's, but coaches do have the Jimmys and Joes, and legendary coach John McDonnell knew where to find them. One of his greatest came from San Antonio, Texas. Ruben Reyna was a superstar at the University of Arkansas. During his time there, the Hogs won 9 NCAA championships and 11 Southwest Conference crowns. He was an 8-time All-American, twice in cross country, 4 times in indoor track, and twice in outdoor track. He was a 2-time national champ in the 3,000 meters, winning the indoor title in both in 90 and 91. Ruben captured 7 conference championships, including the 1988 Southwest Conference cross country crown. In 1992, he earned a spot on the United States Olympic team for the games in Barcelona. In 2001, the U of A placed him in their Sports Hall of Honor. Now he is in the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame. Ruben Reyna.
First and foremost, I would like to congratulate the rest of the honorees that are they're getting honored with me in the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame here. It is I got a text message from a good friend of mine that when he heard about all the inductees that were getting put in, he said that reads like the who's who of Arkansas athletics, and it really does. I'm very honored to be a part of this class. So I'd also like to thank the Texas Hall of Fame, the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame, and all the University of Arkansas, and all those that are responsible for considering me for this award. It's definitely a very, very special award and an honor I'll always remember. I'd like to thank my coach, John McDonnell, who unfortunately is not going to be here today because he's a little bit under the weather. But John has given so much of his time to all of his athletes, and he was there for. He's like a father figure to us. He's there 7 days a week in all of my days that I was ever at Arkansas, and we saw him every morning for all of our long runs, and he never missed a day, and it was unbelievable, his dedication to his team. And he was a man that believed that the team was much bigger than his individuals. And he wanted all of his individuals to be very successful, which he had very, very many, and a lot of great athletes at his university, and how he molded all of those different egos into one that could continue to win and win and win year after year in and year out is just a testament to how good he was as a coach, and to be able to mold everybody together to be the one heartbeat that he wanted them to be. And so he was a very, I thank him very much for allowing me to be a part of something that was very, very special at the University of Arkansas. You know, here, not only is he definitely one of the greatest coach probably to ever coach the sport of track and field, but maybe one of the greatest coaches to ever coach, period. His record speaks for himself, 42 national titles. But of all the accolades and all the awards he has gotten and all the team championships he has won, the one thing he is most proud of is his Southwest Conference titles. He started at the University in 1972. His first year he was 5th in the conference. His second year he was 3rd in the conference. And by his 3rd year in 1974, he won the University of Arkansas's first cross-country title and never lost another title again. So that is unbelievable, So from 1972 to 1991, when the University of Arkansas left the Southwest Conference and went into the Southeast Conference, he had never lost. And he went to the Southeast Conference in the Tennessee and a few of the other schools that were pretty good at the time, said, well, try that in our conference. That's not going to be that easy here. Well, he went on to the Southeast Conference and never lost there either. So you imagine that record. Imagine that record from 1972 to 2007 when he retired. Never lost a cross-country title, a team title. And that's just mind-boggling to even imagine because, it doesn't always go well. Our best runners go down. They come in, they show up to the bus sick. They have abscessed teeth, the night before, when we're showing up to the bus. We have our issues. We have our problems. They don't always go smooth. But John was always the one that said when somebody goes down, the next person has to be prepared to take the rope. And everybody knew that. When you wore that Arkansas, that was very special to us. When you wore that Arkansas jersey, you represented more than yourself. You represented the state, you represented the university, and you represented a championship program. And you knew when you put that on that it was your opportunity to shine. And when one of your teammates went down, then that was your time to step up. And that's what happened over the years, and that's how we were able to be successful. But John was very good at making us believe that we were great. He did have individuals that were good and great, but to get the team to every time you stepped on that track, you were the marked man. You knew it, and you had to carry yourself like a champion. Win or lose, we carried ourselves like champions, and so I owe John McDonnell a whole lot to allow me to be a part of something very special. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, as they mentioned, so I had the opportunity to go to any Southwest Conference school that I wanted to. But I knew that John McDonnell had something special going on because my brothers and my sister had gone to the University of Arkansas before me. So I saw the beginning years of John McDonnell when he was not even won his first national title yet. I had the opportunity to meet him as a young kid. And I got to see his program grow, and I got to see it start to build steam and to win national championships after championship. And so there was no question in my mind where I was going to be going to run because I already saw the light, in John McDonnell and where my career was going to go. But I also like to, I can't thank him enough, and he would love to have been here, I'm sure, because like I said, he never misses anything for his athletes, whether they're getting awards or for their races or for their endeavors to pursue their goals. Even as I left the university, John was there coaching me for the rest of my career to 2000. So as a professional, and he was there for all my workouts even then. So he is tirelessly works and does all he can for his athletes, and I'm sure he'd love to be here, and I'm sure he's sad that he's not here because he is there for everything. I'd like to thank my teammates. I had a lot of great teammates before me, and the ones before me and the ones that came after me that have helped me to become the athlete I was as well. We grinded it out day in and day out, and it's just the friendships, the bond that we have. It is definitely family, and we stay in great touch with each other. But I'd like to give a special thanks to Joe Falcon, who was another guy that's been inducted into the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame and one of the greatest runners to ever come out of the Southwest Conference as well, and the nation for that matter. But he took me under his wing at a young age when I was a freshman. He was the guy that helped groom me into being the next guy that was going to lead the Razorbacks on to championships. And so I thank him for all that he has given me for that. Frank O'Mara, who's one that comes before my days, but is another great Razorback. You know, here's a world champion sitting in our stable. That's somebody I had the opportunity to learn from and to run next to, and I continued to train through him and through my professional career. And he taught me how to be a professional and how to conduct myself in a professional way, and has really done a lot for my career into being confident and moving on to the next stage in life. Mark Anderson is another Razorback before me, but he is also an athlete at my high school. I come from John Jay High School in San Antonio, and Mark Anderson was the first John Jay athlete to come to the University of Arkansas, and was an All-American at the University of Arkansas. And it went for Mark Anderson. I'm not sure if my brothers wouldn't have followed his pursuit and known, been able to see what Arkansas had to offer. So I thank Mark for that as well. I want to thank, I'm very blessed to have a great family. My brothers and sisters, my family's kind of known as the Running Rainists down in Texas, because all of my brothers and all my sisters were very successful runners. And but we were very blessed to have great parents that we were very close and very supportive of each other. And I mean, just to show you that, you know, every one of my siblings is here today. You know, they were more excited for me getting this award, I think, than I was when I first seen it. I sent out a group text that said, "Guess who just got inducted into the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame?" Well, the next day they were already booking flights from California and everywhere else to come here. So, you know, I thank them for that. They've been very supportive of me. You know, the old saying goes, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. And, you know, when you come from a family of 9, you have your own built-in village. So, we are all very close. You know, I get a piece. I'm the baby of the family, so I'm very lucky to have learned from all of them and had the role models to teach me the way growing up. And I think I've gotten a lot of the great qualities of each one of them. You know, my brother Ralph, you know, you know, for those that know me and think that I smile a lot, you need to meet my brother Ralph. The guy never stops smiling, and he's so easygoing. And I like to think I get a little bit of that from him. My sister Liz, who's loving and sweet, you know, gets that from my mom. And I'm not sure if I got those qualities, but I'll tell you this football story anyway. You could appreciate this. We used to have a lot of, we're big football fans as well, big Dallas Cowboy fans, and we used to have a lot of family football games. And when you have a family of 9, you could have your own football games. But my sister Liz was one of the fastest ones on the team, and they say that nobody could ever catch Liz. So I like to think I got my speed from her. At least I learned what fast was. My brother Randy was the visionary in the family. You know, my brother Randy is the one that started the Running Rainists. His best friend was Mark Anderson, who went to my school, like I mentioned before. And Randy was playing football at the time in high school, and he broke his arm. And he was sitting on the sidelines, couldn't practice and do much because of his broken arm. So Mark Anderson is the one that suggested to him that maybe he ought to try out for the track team and go out for track. And he was a junior at the time, so he was a late starter. But he went on to have a very successful career at the University of Arkansas, and make world championship teams. He was on the U.S. championship teams in cross country, a couple of them, and it was very successful. But I can't thank him enough for the letters he used to send me when I was in middle school and in high school, and tell me about Arkansas and coaching me along the way and give me a lot of advice, and I can't thank him enough for that. My brother Roland is the tough guy. He's the one that gave me the toughness. You know, Roland's going to beat up on me all the time. So I was the baby brother that got beat up, and Roland's the one that toughened me up. But Roland was a hell of a competitor, and those that got to see him, you know, for me to get to see him run in high school and the way the guy would get knocked down in races at regional meets. We'd have to go on to win state, to go to state and get knocked out the back of the crowd, roll circles, and get up and still win races. And he was just, the more you made him mad, the better he was. And so Roland's very tough. And I thank him for being a role model for me. He was definitely my role model and somebody that I looked up to. My sister Janice went to the University of Arkansas as well before transferring back home to UTSA, and I think she was just missing a lot of my mom's home cooking, which I did too at times. So my sister Eileen was my closest sibling, and we grew up like two peas in a pod. We grew up together. And so we had a lot of those bickering fights here and there, but Eileen was a disciplinarian too, though. She taught me the way of commitment and dedication and how to be disciplined. I remember times when she would throw water on my face for morning runs in the morning to get out the door and be successful. And so she was a disciplinarian, and she was also a runner as well. Went on to USSA to join my sister. So all Division I athletes, and I was very fortunate to have them in front of me to teach me how to be successful. My mom was the glue of the family. My mom, like I said, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she cooked every home meal. You know, we had homemade meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and she served it with love. And she knew how important it was. Even the pre-meat meals were for me, and the breakfasts and stuff. And so she served it with a lot of love, and felt like she had a big role in and give me the strength, and gave me that confidence in that. My dad was my psychologist. You know, my dad was the one that said, you have to run like a champion. You carry yourself like a champion. Run from the front and be a champion. Selfless confidence story. My last year, it was 1991. The last year, the University of Arkansas was in the Southwest Conference. I was sitting with him before breakfast for the finals at the Southwest Conference. You know, I had to run the mile in the 3,000, and my dad was looking at the brochure, and he said, you know, I see the records here at 3,000. I think you could get that record. And I was a guy who loved to win, and I wanted to win championships. But it really wasn't about time for me. It was about the championship and winning. And Coach McDonald that day had wanted me to pace one of my teammates because he hadn't qualified for the national championships yet. And so I told my dad that I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, Dad, because I'm going to be pacing my teammate here and trying to get him qualified for the national championship. And he said, oh, okay, whatever. So I went on to pace my teammate, and with 2 laps to go, my teammate looked like he was going to safely be under the required time to qualify for nationals, and I decided to go for it the last 2 laps, and I went on and blistered the last 2 laps and set the Southwest Conference championship record, which still stands. Of course, it's going to stay there forever. So, but my dad was the one that was the heart for me, and that taught me how to carry yourself like a champion. He would have worked just beautifully with John McDonald, because that was John McDonald's way as well. John McDonald wanted you to run from the front. He wanted you to show your dominance. He wanted to make everybody scared and defeated before the race was even done. And so my dad was the perfect guy to really teach me that way. I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, my high school sweetheart, Joelle, who I've been with. So I started dating my wife in high school. Another Southwest Conference story. I started dating my wife in my senior year, and I went to the Southwest Conference Championships to see John McDonald and the Razorbacks compete. We're not there at the university yet. I was getting ready to go the next fall. And I decided I was going to go meet John McDonald in the middle of the field there after the meet was over, and introduce him to my girlfriend. Well, if you know John McDonald, he was not big on girlfriends. So it happened to be a bad day for him that day too. He had just got upset, which was very seldom that he got upset at conference, but he got upset at the Southwest Conference Championships by Texas, of all teams, and just had barely lost the championship. And so it was bad timing on my part to go and introduce my girlfriend at the time, and my wife now today. But I said, Coach McDonald, this is my girlfriend, Joelle. And he says, well, see how long that lasts. But 32 years later, and we just had our 25th wedding anniversary here this past month. She's still here by my side and has seen okay. And has seen me win a lot of these championships along the way. She went to the University of Arkansas with me, and was on the track team, so she got to travel and see a lot of those races that I competed in. I would like to thank my family, my kids that are here as well, except for one daughter. My sister Valerie was the University of Arkansas runner as well, SEC champion, SEC not champion, but SEC and academic honor roll. My second daughter is a soccer player. She was a great runner as well. So the second phase of running Rangers are in the making. But my sister Elise is a soccer player as well. She decided to get out of the family business and go into the soccer route. So, but she right now is getting ready for the NCAA conference championship. So she's not here today. It starts here this week. My two youngest kids, Ruben and Gabby Rayner, are both runners as well, and all going to have bright futures. So I'm looking forward to that. But in closing, I'd just like to say I'm very honored. But this is not about me. This is more about those who made me who I am, and those that gave me the desire to be great, and for those that taught me about discipline and dedication. And to all my fans and to my friends who supported me throughout the way, and inspired me to shoot for the stars. That's who this is about. I am the one that's getting the honor, but I couldn't do it without any of them. It's like all you Razorback fans here today. You passionate Razorback fans that have helped, cheer us along the way. We couldn't do it without you, and we're very appreciative. And you have made my Razorback days very special, and I thank you for that.
Baz, you know the old saying, don't you? To a distance runner, 5 minutes is nothing. Whoa. Being cocky is one thing, being confident is another. Our next inductee had every reason to be confident. Playing basketball for Batesville High School, her team won the state championship, and she was the most valuable player. Same thing in tennis. Had state champs next to her name, and she won the overall championship. But basketball was her love, and the University of Arkansas is where her Southwest Conference Hall of Fame athletic career began. Tracy Webb Rice was every coach's dream, tough, determined, scrappy, competitive beyond belief. Known as the first great point guard in U of A Lady Razorback history, she parlayed her outstanding ability and leadership into championships. Tracy was captain of the 1987 team and led the Lady Razorbacks to the championship of the women's coveted NIT. Oh, yes, she was the MVP. But Tracy leading the charge, the Ladybacks, as they were called back then, posted 4 consecutive 20-win seasons. In '86, they made their first ever NCAA appearance. In all Southwest Conference tournament selection in 1987, she finished her career as the all-time leader in assists and steals. And today, she is still the all-time steals leader at Arkansas with 293. A recent inductee into the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, please welcome the colorful Tracy Webb Rice.
Okay, you guys thought women talked for a long time? Woo! Woo! Hello. So I'm going to make mine short. I'm going to take a story out because these men just kept talking and talking. And I'm seeing these people leave, and they got to go back to work. Anyhow, I'm extremely honored to be here this afternoon with all these great inductees. I also had another side joke, but Ray spoiled it on me. I was supposed to be last in speaking. And, you know, they always say that they save the best for last. Well, Ray. Yeah, you told me wrong. So, anyhow, I would first like to thank the good Lord, because without him, none of this would be possible, and he watched over me. I would like to thank my parents, Charles and Betty Webb. Since everybody else is having their parents stand up, come on, stand up. Okay. And so last night, when we were at our dinner, David gave him more praise than he did me, because my dad is 84 and he looks great. But they've always been there with me. They've traveled the state of Texas watching me play. I used to say that if somebody gave my mom a dime or a nickel for every rebound that she did for me, she'd be a millionaire. She would never work. I mean, that's how important they were to me. So the Southwest Conference is pretty much all we knew. It was sort of the Arkansas versus the entire state of Texas. I've been to the plains of West Texas, to the skyscrapers of Houston, and then I got to play with against the University of Texas, who I'm supposed to say something nice about them today. David says, this is the only day I have to say something nice. So my story with them, I'll tell you, as my senior year, we were playing in the Southwest Conference tournament in Dallas, and the atmosphere, the crowd, Texas was always top number one in the nation. Sometimes they went to 4, but they had an outstanding group with Jody Conrad. She, I think, has more wins than Pat Head Summit. Anyhow, so we were playing them, and we had them we were up 7 at halftime, and Coach Sullivan and Tracy Maysdale, like my assistant, and Don Paul, we were feeling good. We had great rhythm. I mean, we were up by 7 with the number 1 team in the nation. So anyhow, so we went in there, and Coach Sullivan was telling us, this and that, and we kept following him. And anyhow, Jody Conrad and her players didn't feel the same. They came back and eventually beat us by 7 or 8, but I guess what I want to say with women's basketball in the Southwest Conference, there was so much excitement. The gym was packed. University of Texas women, they carried more attendance than the men did. I mean, that's how big they were. And we had a lot of Razorbacks there because the men were playing, and it was just, the atmosphere of it was great. But also to come back to say is that year, University of Texas won the national championship. So it sort of helped us not feel so bad that they beat us. And I have other stories, but I'm gonna quit it. So, but in final, I am from Batesville, Arkansas, and being from Arkansas and being able to be a Razorback meant the world to me. And I am so grateful that the University of Arkansas recruited me and gave me the opportunity to play for the Southwest Conference. That I have memories. I can't thank my teammates enough, and it is. Your team is your family, and we all still stay in contact. And I am very honored, and I love all the honorees here that I'm with, and I feel very special that I am here. So thank you, and go Hogs.
One other quick basketball note, one of the great guards of all time in the Southwest Conference, Darrell Walker, makes his coaching debut for the Little Rock Trojans on Thursday night, and he would appreciate you all's support. Come out and watch his teams play. Most in this room realize that recruiting is not an exact science. Exhibit A, right at the end of the table over here. Jimmy Walker played for Little Rock Central Tigers, was a linebacker. According to longtime Razorback assistant coach Harold Horton, not one major college came calling. Walker appeared headed to Arkansas Tech in Russellville. Along came the annual high school all-star game. Jimmy was asked to play as a down lineman. He was more impressive. The U of A offered him a scholarship, and it paid big dividends. His freshman year, he was named Academic All-American. Not many in this room can lay claim to that. Bigger things were in the future. Jimmy became a wrecking machine. His 1975 team won the Southwest Conference. He was named both Southwest Conference and All-American in 77 and 78. Add to that, Southwest Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Listen to these numbers. The lightly recruited Walker in 77-78 racked up a combined 34 tackles for lost yardage. His 19 tackles behind the line of scrimmage in 79 was the best in the entire nation. Add to his credits, winner of the Crip Hall Award and MVP of the Hula Bowl and Fiesta Bowl Defensive Player of the Game. Not bad for a guy that D1 coaches didn't even have on the radar. Jimmy Walker.
Well, this fits. It's like I said, I signed a 33rd scholarship, and, the last player that nobody ever thought about. I wasn't even a one-star on Arkansas's radar. So, but first of all, I want to thank God, giving him the praise and glory for this. It wouldn't happen without him. I'm just so fortunate. I tell you, I think about my career and you know, just being able to just glory in the days of when Arkansas was really a scared team for us to play, for anybody else to play. But I got excited when Bobby Crockett got up and said they had a Bobby Crockett Day in Crossett. So I said, well, maybe it's not too late for a Jimmy Walker Day in Little Rock where I can get a car. So, but I want to just follow up. I want to make sure I get my specs out. I really don't need glasses, but I didn't want to make everybody else look bad. So, I want to first thank the Hall of Fame committee, the David, the Razorback Foundation, and you. This couldn't happen without you guys. I've been blessed to have some of the best fans in the nation with the Arkansas Razorbacks. I want to thank my family. Just don't realize as a high school and a college athlete how it pulls on your family when you have to travel and your sisters and brothers have to stop what they're doing in order to go see you and support you. And I want to thank my sisters and brothers who are all here, Leslie, Bill, and Cheryl. I want to thank you guys for being here. I know it's something, and I want to first of all recognize my pastor who keeps me grounded, Bishop Silas at the Full Council Metro Church. Would you stand? Just give my pastor some recognition. All right. But I want to go down, as David mentioned the other day, yesterday, from the heart. I've got bring some things up from the heart, which comes near to me. First of all, 2 years ago I lost my dad, and that was my biggest fan that I had. But you know, Dad taught me from the word go is to never quit, never give up on anything in life. When I first started out, I never will forget. He was my first coach in Pee Wee ball, and he had me as playing quarterback. And of course, everybody wants their kid to be quarterback and everything else. And so it didn't take me long to realize that I didn't want to play quarterback after getting sacked time and time again. I said, I want to do what those guys do. You know, so I told Dad, I said, Dad, I don't really want to quit, but I just want to play another position. You know, so I just giving praise. And a lot of people would ask, as far as, you know, how is you so fast and so quick? And I had to think about it, and I said, well, you know, I had to give that praise to my mom, because I don't know about you, but my mom was strict, and she would come out, and she said, you need to be in the house before the street lights come on. Well, a couple of occasions that the street lights came on, I was still out there in the street playing football. And my mom came out on the porch and all my little friends, and she had a belt hanging on the side. And so she called my name and screaming, and my team, the other little guys that I was playing out in the street with, ooh, you finna get a whooping. I said, oh, no, I'm not. She's just playing. So I would go up to the front porch. How many of y'all know I wouldn't take a whooping on the front porch in front of my friends? I had to fake my mom out and outrun her to get in the house. But, you know, once I got in the house, it was bad. You know, because the thing about it, at first it wasn't as bad, but my mom learned that, you know, because when she first used to go in the house after me, she was tired, so she didn't whoop me long. But it got real bad when she started coming in the house and wait a minute, so she could get her breath. So I just said, oh, this is not worth it. So I had to beat them street lights from coming on to get in that house. But my mom was the glue of our family. You know, she's a caregiver. She's still here at 83 years old. I wish she was here today, but she wasn't feeling as well. But, you know, my mom just, you know, she was the reason why I went to Arkansas. Of course, I had the scholarship offers to small colleges, Arkansas Tech, Georgia Southern, and places like that. And my mom really instilled for me to stay close to her. So I was glad that Coach Turner and Coach Branch came and recruited me so I could be close to home. You know, just so instrumental in being part of Arkansas. But You know, I additionally acquired, I guess being the last player, I got to tell this story real quick. Signing the 33rd scholarship, I was the only player at the university that had never seen Arkansas, the campus. I signed the last scholarship, so they just gave me directions to come up there. So as I'm making that trip, that transition, because the freshmen had to report a couple of days early, I'm making the transition, and I remember they said, you know, get off at exit with an A. And I got off the Altus exit, okay? So I drove about 15 miles, and I stopped at a service station that didn't even have all the line. It was an X on, but it had just EX on it. Everything else had faded out. And I asked them, I said, where's the campus at university? And they looked at me and said, you talking about Fayetteville? I said, yeah. They said, sir, you're a long, long way from there. So they directed me back to get off at the Alma exit, and I went up there, and the fun part about it, when I got there, the 32 other freshmen, they were roommates on the third floor. They all had roommates. I was the odd one out. So I was on the first floor. And so I was waiting on my upperclassman roommate to come back. I've never told this story publicly. But when my upperclassman roommate got there, he walked in the door, he opened the door, and he stepped in, one step, and he stepped back out. And he told somebody else, man, I got a dang freshman as a roommate. So he wasn't happy for me, and I necessarily wasn't happy to be there either. But he later wound up being close and took me under his wings. He's no longer here, Bruce Mitchell. He wound up dating my sister, and she had a baby, and my nephew today, another Bruce Mitchell's in the state of Texas, is raising sand. So Arkansas needs to put him on the map. But, you know, I've been so fortunate, man. I just tell you, from being able to play with great players like Dan Hampton and to have a father figure. I had a father figure with the Razorbacks when I was there. And that was Coach Horton and Miss Horton. I want you guys to stand, because I'm telling you, you're talking about somebody that took me under their wings. It's like Marvin Depp. Like Marvin said, they were the glue up there. I can't tell you how Coach Horton has affected my life. He molded me to be the young man that I was, because he took me and Dan, and he wouldn't accept excuses for anything. But I would always wonder, I said, man, that first day of practice, when I went and got my equipment, Dan and Dale White, they all had big heads like me, so all the big helmets were gone. So I had to, Arkansas had the tenacity to call Little Rock Central and get my high school helmet up there. I don't know if Coach Horton remembers it, but, you know, it all came to me because even though I love wearing my black and gold helmet, but that wasn't the place to have the black and gold helmet. And that's when I figured out years later, I said, that's why Coach Horton always, those first few days of practice, would always call walking, you know, quit lollygagging and everything else. I said, how did he know it would just pick me out of all these guys? Coach Horton made the statement. He says, we got to run in the bleachers, of course, and, you know, I was used to running bleachers at Central High School, so it wasn't, you know, but these bleachers would just go on and on and on and on. Well, Coach Horton hollered out at me, Edmund, he says, look, Jimmy, if you can't finish these bleachers, the bleachers at UCA is a lot shorter. So I felt that I needed to go on and finish running the bleachers. But, you know, to make the moral of that story is that years later, Coach Horton took a head coaching job at UCA. But, you know, I will say this. Coach Horton and Miss Horton are family to me. I mean, they're my family. Tim, who's at Auburn University, you know, I was hoping that he was able to stay, but I'm going to put it to you on notice. If you can get Tim Horton, you better get him, because if he's got the genes in him and the blood in him. But I always said with Coach Horton, because Coach Horton always kept us grounded. I mean, and we wound up, I'll tell this story, we wound up, me and Dan and Dale White, was starting defensive end, starting defensive line the last years, 77, 78. I don't know any coach in the country that produced 2 first-team All-American defensive ends, tackles, and an All-Southwest Conference nose guard in the same year. But Coach Horton would be the one that stayed in our grills and kept us grounded, and where we started as a team. And also Coach Branch and Coach Turner, they kept us to focus to where we depended on one another. And we had it here. It wasn't about the 4 stars or 5 stars. We had it in our hearts that we wanted to play for one another. I'll tell this story about Dan. Dan was on the right side, I was on the left side. And, you know, at one point I'd be on Dan. I said, Dan, what's going on that side? Because somebody run a first down on that side. We'd be in the huddle. I said, what's going on that side? Sure that side up. Sure enough, Dan took that challenge. And, of course, the next about 3 plays later, they got a first down on my side. He said, what's going on that side? So, you know, I said, okay, well, and that really made us play for one another. And then you got Dean Weber. Dean was a trainer. I could never get Dean to let me out of practice for nothing. I remember Dean, you remember this, and we were warming up at homecoming, and we were hitting live before the game started, and I got hit, and my elbow hyperextended. And I thought I was going to play, and Dean said, oh, no, that's not going to happen. So he taped my elbow to here, and this is how I came out on the field like this. I couldn't move my elbow any further. But the good thing about it, I mean, it still didn't stop my play. But I give Dean all the credit, man. He was probably the best trainer I ever had. Because, I mean, I went on to play with greats like Reggie White and the other great players that I played with. You know, my career went to Canadian League first. And I had a great college career. I just look at me being a Little Rock Central High Tiger that wasn't recruited to be able to go and be the most outstanding player in not only the Fiesta Bowl, the high school all-star game, the Hula Bowl, and then the Orange Bowl. I was the Pennzoil defensive player. So, you know, God was good. And I had to say that, look at God. Because, you know, I always told my sons, don't ever let any man define who you are. Because you're greater than what they're telling you. And, you know, I was fortunate. I had 2 sons that one of them wound up breaking Herschel Walker's records in the state of Georgia, Darius Walker. He went to Notre Dame. I really wanted him to come to Arkansas, but his older brother, who was ahead of him, Houston didn't have a scholarship for a fullback. So little brother remembered that when it came time to signing day and said, no, I'm not going to Arkansas. Now, what I did do, I did cancel his visitation trip to go to Texas. I said, no, you're not going to Texas. But that was the only time I ever got him to put that father figure. And no, we go everywhere else, but we're not going to Texas. In closing, let me find my notes here. Coach Horton, yeah, they used to call him Ready. But, you know, it took me a few years after I graduated from Arkansas to realize that Ready wasn't for Coach Horton. It was for us. You know, because if we wasn't ready, he would call you out. Now, the one thing I'll say about these coaches is here today. You see players now make plays, and they thump their chest, and they get a phone up under the cone and everything else. These 3 coaches back here, they tell you that's what you're supposed to do. Don't celebrate, because, you know, when we celebrate, they grabbing us when we come off that field. And that's what the thing I see the difference in players today than when I played, is that there's too much celebration on I instead of doing it for the team. But last, I want to recognize Chuck and Michelle Beal. They grabbed me under their wings and helped me developed to work now with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Chuck and Michelle, will y'all stand for a second? I mean, Chuck is, I tell you. But I can't close it without recognizing the rock of my life. And that's Stephanie. Stephanie, I want you to stand. Yeah, I saved you for last because I'm always last. So I wanted you to feel, her maiden name was Adams. I want her to feel how it is to be a walker. But hey, I thank you guys so much. I'm blessed truly to be here. And go Hogs. All right.
Let's close this meeting out the way we're supposed to. Let's stand up and call the Hogs and be dismissed. Woo! Pig Suey! Woo! Pig Suey! One more. Woo! Pig Suey! Razorbacks! Thanks for being here, everybody.